are you doing, Dustin? Look at what happens when we take 2 weeks off together. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to Because Cannabis. I'm B.C. Wehman. Over there, whichever box he's in, on whichever way you're looking at the screen, is Dustin Kava. As you know, we've had 2 weeks. We each had to take a little bit of week off. You know, it takes a lot of work to put together the podcast. So 2 weeks ago, just me and Professor Bluntstash hanging out, talking about cultivation. Last week, Dustin Kava, along with another member of Wayward Media. Be sure to check out the website, wayward.media. Anthony Trav. You can check out his game stream. Subscribe to the channel right below as you're watching this. Check us out. Check out Anthony's videos. You had him on last Friday talking about marketing, talking about sustainability. I don't know. You had a lot of S words in there. I couldn't even pronounce them. And so what's happened in the 2 weeks that we've been apart, Dustin, first, you forget who controls the video cameras coming into the show. Glitchy, not cool. And Dustin Kava, brand new studio. That's what I'd like to think. I know you literally just moved the camera to another part of the house, but I'm selling it. Brand new studio. I feel like we should have an advertiser or something. The budget has increased. It's been 2 weeks. How are you, man?
Well, first off, man, one of the biggest things I like to do with all my software and my process is fucking learn the hotkeys. And so I swore I memorized the hotkeys to switch my cameras and my mic and everything I need to do on the fly. And you know what? Clearly I need a little bit more studying on that one. And then as for the studio, it is not mine. It is the wife's. We are coming live from the wife's mansion tonight.
Oh, we're on location today. I love it.
We are. You know what? It's been a year in the new house, and I got to project 72 out of 72 on the remodel over the last year. And then you know what? We literally, as I was finishing the last 30-minute silicone in the kitchen to finalize everything, we had a massive water issue, and I had to rip up all of the floor in the hallway and both bathrooms and take out all the cabinets and all the trim and everything, 15 or 20 of the projects out of 72. And so you know what? Universe works in mysterious ways. There is something greater on the outside of this one. And yeah, we're going to go live from the wife's house while a little bit of remodeling is not being done by me this time.
I feel like that's an amazing segue to one of our guests, or our only guest, one of our guests today, Alex Huska from Whole Plant on here, joining us here in just a few minutes. Because sometimes when you're trying to start something, Dustin, whether you're putting together a company or whether you are trying to put together a house remodel that you're doing, it doesn't go as planned, right? Things change as you go along, or you think of new things to do, or you discover an unknown problem that you never know that you had, and shit goes all haywire, and it just gets frustrating. So that's part of the lesson. You know, we talked a lot about entrepreneurship on the show before, and this will be another great episode of that, so I'm looking forward to that. Real quick, before we bring Alex on, let's get some of the other stuff that we need to get out there. Be sure to follow us socially at MeetWM, MEETWM, MEETWM on Instagram, on Facebook. Social game a little weak right now. We got to raise that up a little bit, Dustin. Maybe when you get back into the spot, you and I get a little back together, right? We got to get our vibe, our mojo rising back again. Be sure to check us out on audio. If you're listening to this on audio, thank you very much. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. You know I love to represent Stitcher into there. Wherever you want to go, check them out. Follow us on there. Live, though. Shows Friday, 4:20 p.m. Every single Friday, 4:20 p.m. Be sure to subscribe so you get the notification of who the guest is. Like today. Today, I am very excited to have the guest on. It is one of those things, you know, when you, I've met a couple times. You ever met a famous band, Dustin? Like, you ever met a band that you love and then you meet the singer? It's like you meet the person who creates what you are consuming, in this case through your ears, but they're making something and you're like consuming it. And now I feel like, and maybe this would be a better metaphor, more like a chef, right? Do you have like a chef that you like around here? Do you have a person who cooks, and when they make something, they take things that are ordinarily and readily available sometimes, and then make something, and then you consume it, and you're like, damn, that was pretty good, right? Have you ever had that? Do you have someone that you love when you have that vibe?
Oh, you know what? Well, working in the glass industry, it's like, it's the artists that I got to meet, the heroes that I got to meet, and sitting down and actually, partaking with them in some capacity really was amazing. Or even, there have been times where I'd sat down to eat some Chinese at the mall and looked over and my favorite artist is sitting there eating Chinese because he was doing a show in town, and just being able to sit next to him and be like, yo, bro, I'm just going to whisper that you're my hero and fucking leave. And there is, and you know what? I've actually had the process of the people that end up being my heroes, the people that I end up love working with or love, consuming their content or their products or whatever the hell it is. I've had the pleasure that most of those people end up being people I get to work with in my day-to-day life. So it doesn't feel it's not that it's not so grand. It's that I am so blessed that I get to work with so many incredible people that it's just, to me, it's like an everyday occurrence. The people that I really, really like talking to are the ones that end up showing up and talking to me. And so it's pretty heavy.
Wow. I feel like I got to be honest with you, Alex Huska from Hope Plant CBD, as you join us. First of all, I think he called you his hero. I know it's super awkward, but I'm pretty sure at some point, I don't know what happened, but that was a genuine, heartfelt introduction. Unlike, I don't think, in the 20 episodes that we've put out. Welcome to episode number 20, by the way. 20 episodes we've put out. That was a very eloquent introduction, Alex. How you feeling? You feeling uncomfortable right now? I am. I'm not even there.
I got the chills, to be honest. First off, I want to say, no, it's awesome, and I appreciate it. You guys are so cool. It's pretty crazy, honestly, because I'm just like a kid from Cleveland, So for you guys to feel like that, I'm honored and definitely blessed as well too. Super thankful. Excited to be on here. BC, we just been meeting pretty recently, so I'm excited to talk to you. And then Dustin, we go a little whiles back, so we've been doing great things together. Love working together, being in the community. And I will say, being positive, I love your studio. You can heat up some nachos, do some microwave nachos and the podcast at the same time. So
it's very practical. It looks almost like a green screen like you would put in is if you chose generic living room white, eggshell, except occasionally a little cat goes across. And I thought he was green screening because I thought I saw a little there. It's just his nice little camera. And then I saw that. Alex, we're terrible with introductions, sign of obviously. Let's give a quick recap to the audience. Give your name, give your title, read the business card off. And then we'll dive into some of your story. But give us a quick, tell us who you are in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So let's sum it up pretty quick. My name's Alex Huska. I'm just 28-year-old kid from Cleveland. Grew up in North Olmsted area. My background is in marketing. Went to Cuyahoga Community College. And then I was in one of the first graduating classes at Cleveland School of Cannabis. So I got some cannabis background, but my life has definitely been crazy and definitely takes wild twists and turns. No easy way to sum it up, but I'll just say I'm super passionate about cannabis, and definitely, with having Crohn's disease, God has always kind of driven me down the path that I've ended up in. So I really have been fortunate. But, we've got a hemp manufacturing company here in North Ridgeville. We also do cannabis partnerships with local cannabis processors. So we got a line of CBD cartridges in cannabis market. We have retail stores. And then we're also releasing some high THC Delta 9 products in medical market as well too, and going into many markets. So the company's getting pretty diverse, but that's a quick way to sum it up, to be short.
I feel like that's a long way from when we were talking the other day we met, and it seems a long way from what you said, started this in my bedroom, right? Started this in your bedroom, kind of getting set up. So when you say take me back, take me to the bedroom, you got a poster on the wall, what kind of posters you rocking? Describe to me and this is creepy, I know, but describe to me a little bit of the childhood bedroom that this started in, or maybe we're in a college dorm by now, just because we got to set the scene, right? Storytelling's important here. And then talk about it, talk about the start. You got this background, you go through business, you go through marketing, you pick up a little bit of cannabis. As you're sitting in this room, which you're about to describe in exquisite detail, no pressure, talk about, where does this come from to say, it's one thing to consume it, and we have this on with many cultivators or people that get into it. It's one thing to consume it. Why do you want to grow it, sell it, process it, do all the other dirty work, so to speak? So paint the bedroom. Tell us why you got started.
I guess I'll take it way back for you guys.
Oh, I like that.
Originally where it started, I never imagined that I was going to be in cannabis. I always was an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to be in business. Worked a bunch of different jobs, worked in different places, went to school for it. Then when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at like 22, I literally had no other option and nothing else was working for me. So it's like my mom's a nurse. She doesn't believe in cannabis at all. She can't believe that this is a medicine. And I go through these it was pretty critical case. So I go through all these different things and all these medicines don't work for me. And cannabis does work for me. And at this point, it's I already graduated with my associates in marketing. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So then I was all right, I need to figure out why this cannabis is working. So I go to that school, do tons of networking, meet tons of great people around here, learn a bunch of great things. And then I'm all right, well, there's a specific medicine I need, and it's a whole plant extraction. So I'm there's nothing like this in the CBD market. There's it in cannabis, but cannabis is so regulatory, and you got to be in specific markets to be able to get it. You got to get your medical card. So it's not accessible. So I'm all right, there's a need for the market in the market for this product. So then I'm all right, well, I can't work for anybody. There's other CBD companies I could work for, but they're just not doing it right. So I'm all right, I'm going to start this. And then I have an apartment with one of my best friends, and we have 3 bedrooms, and I have a room, he has a room, and there's this extra bedroom. And so I'm all right.
Yeah.
I was all right, this is where we're starting it. And so I just got on my phone and I called every smoke shop and head shop that was in the Cleveland area. And I'm hey, do you want to make the products? And at this time, CBD was still illegal. And so we weren't even supposed to be selling it yet. So we were getting it I was driving to Niagara Falls in New York. And I was having a processor make me my products there, and I'm taking them back to my bedroom. And at this point, I got stuff that looks like weed. I'm scared, terrified. Nobody had CBD flower at this point. And so I'm just selling this out of my bedroom. I created my own brand. I hired graphic designers on Fiverr. And I just started doing everything myself. And then it just naturally grew from there. We went from the bedroom to in which it wasn't necessarily a bedroom. It was more so of an office. We just call it the bedroom because it's better for
the office story. Sounds way better. When you say I made the magic happen in the bedroom, there's a whole Cribs approach to it that
with
gives
my
off
best
the vibe.
friend.
So me and my best friends made magic happen in our bedroom. I in the office space. It sounds good there.
Yeah, I remember I was filling in order because the bedroom or the office wasn't big enough. So I was in my dad's garage, and my dad's what the hell are you doing? Is this weed? Is this cannabis? I'm no, dude. I'm this is my business. And he was you're doing it in my garage. I'm how many businesses have started in a garage? And he's
yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Right. And so he's you're actually right. And then we went from the bedroom, and which at that point, licensing was coming up. So I was all right, I can't be driving to New York. I can't be driving back and having someone else do it. I was I need to do everything myself. So I got a warehouse, 1,000 square feet warehouse. We got it licensed. We were one of the first licensed processors, in which Ohio was so strict. It was stricter than any other state. So we did that, and then just naturally grew it, built some infrastructure, and then kept growing it. And then now we're in about 10,000 square foot warehouse. We do all of our marketing, order fulfillment, manufacturing, and processing in-house.
And so let's talk about how many brands then to date. We have Whole Plant, which is wholeplantstore.com. We have Plant Puff, which is plantpuffco.com. We have Organics Plus Brands, right?
Yep. So I could break down the company structure, kind of explain it, because the company is getting diverse. They started with just Whole Plant, and it was just Whole Plant, and then all these other things have happened. So Organic Plus Brands is the parent company. That's our manufacturing company that'll manufacture all of our different brands. So then the different branches we have off the parent company is we have the main one, which is Whole Plant CBD. We also have Whole Plant Cannabis, which is our partnered processor, Benelifs, in Columbus. You need a medical marijuana card to be able to purchase those. And then we have Whole Plant CBD Dispensary, which is a retail store in Maple Heights that you can actually just go and buy all of our CBD, Delta 8, all that type of products and all the brands we carry. We then have Plant Puff, which is originally our Delta 8 brand, but it's going to be turning into our cannabis brand, which we just wanted to launch it. We're going to do all this branding in cannabis or Delta 8. So it's like we're going to transition this to our cannabis brand for the future. So we have Plant Puff. We'll have Plant Puff Dispensary, which is going to be another retail location that's opening in State Road on Parma. And then we also have Lord Green Factory, which is my newest partner. Her name's Abby Eunice. She's from Pittsburgh, and she has her own brand and manufacturing facility out there. So it's pretty similar to us, but we have a distribution partnership where we sell each other's products. Kind of increases our market share and increases our product portfolio.
Yeah, it's just a strategic alliance between two brands.
Yep, exactly. Awesome. So that's pretty much everything that's fallen under the company and kind of all the brands that we have going on right now.
I got one follow-up question to this after you described all that. At what point did you realize that, like in the very beginning, you're moving by yourself, which means you're moving very fast. At what point do you realize that you have to move with others in order to build the dream? And what did that look like? Because after so many brands, it's clear you can't be putting on all the hats yourself. And what was that realization that like it's time to move together? It's time to move with my team. 3 people, 4 people in the company is one thing to manage, but now, like you said, you had 15 people managing all these brands and these strategic alliances across the board. And yeah, now you're moving together. You're moving towards that future for longevity, true longevity.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I realized, I would say, it was when we were in the 1,000 square foot warehouse is when I realized that I need to align myself with people to be able to get myself to the next step. I need people that have aligned visions as well, too. Because along the way, you meet with tons of people and it just ends up not working out. But once you meet those people that have the same aligned visions, you just kind of start to see it explode. So I've brought in, a couple partners into this company myself that have really helped me get into the next step. And then as well as, working together and realizing what we really specialize in. So it's like Plant Puff Whole Plant was really good for CBD, but we really can't target that demographic that we're marketing towards for CBD for who we want to entertain for Plant Puff.
Yes.
So it's like, also on top of it, it's like we're really good at vape. We're awesome at vape. And one thing we weren't really specialized in is edibles. And like we realized that it's like huge part of the market. We're already selling to that consumer base. And it's like we can expand our revenues drastically by opening up to that part of the market. So that's why we partner with Lord Green. And it's like we need to really work together with people who are really, more expertise in their niche. And it kind of makes us blossom better together as well. We complement each other perfectly. And by us working together rather than against each other, really just makes us more successful and easier to get to the next level, I would say.
I love all the different kind of names. I'm a sucker for like names. Like we talk about it a lot. Actually, before we went live, we're having this conversation about like our lowercase pretentiousness here on Because Cannabis. And we talked about our font, our typeface, and Dustin and I, we probably said it's actually over the course of several days. I think our first episode may have been a different font. I think we changed it after the first one, after rethinking about it and such. So talk me through, I love the brainstorming of it. If you have any other names that were rejected that you didn't use, or maybe you got to hang on to those for future brands. But just kind of the process of the naming, like spitballing it, why settle on, Organic Plus, the whole plant? Like, was it, where was your concepts? What was your vision? And then Plant Puff, or more specifically, and I think maybe some people may want to clarify, why does whole plant CBD not target in your brain or in your mind the demographic that something like Plant Puff can, or kind of that, that thought process of why you separated, and then the names and where you, kind of process behind it?
So that's actually a really funny question because whole plant almost didn't exist. And I remember I filed all the business licenses. We were almost called like Hemplex CBD, and thought it was
Say that one more time. Hold on. What was the almost name?
Hemplex CBD.
Yeah, no.
Complex.
You can give that one away. No one's stealing that.
But in my gut, I'm just like, yeah, no, this feels terrible. But I was also just like trying to rush it at that point. And just trying to get to the market like really quick. So I was like, all right, I got all these customers that want to buy the products. I just literally need the brand. So I'm like rushing at that point, and I'm like, no. I'm like, we're doing this whole thing because of the whole plant extract. And so I Google search whole plant, nothing comes up. And then I go into the name registry in Ohio, and I I put whole plant, and nothing comes up.
Oh, those are
I'm
good
like,
feelings.
I'm like, whole plant is literally a category of cannabis. I'm like, how does nobody have done that? So
It does feel
filed
right.
it.
It does feel like it should have been taken already.
Yeah, so I was like, this is wild. So I got the DBA real quick, and then I filed trademarks in like 10 different states, because you can't do it federally, but you go state by state with cannabis, and you don't have to hide with it. So we can openly admit that we're doing like cannabis or CBD and get that trademark to hold state by state basis. So I filed all those in, and then we realized, we're like, okay, well, this is going to be great for SEO. So like we come up number one in Google every single time whole plant is searched, and whole plant is like a very highly searched word term. So that's kind of how that thing went. And I always, I leave it to God. I just kind of leave it to God, and he always ends up in the right place, and he makes things turn out the right way. So then, when we're doing the Delta 8, it's like a little scary. We're like, we don't know if we want to do this. Like, we don't know if we want to put our brand name on it. So it's like, also that's a big reasoning to why we changed the name. And then as well as why whole plant doesn't really work is because we do a lot of competitive analysis. So like, I love branding. We have marketing, branding team in-house. I got graphic designer. We have web developer as well too. He does all of our content strategy and stuff like that. But we'll go through and we'll do like a whole brand architecture when we create the brand. I mean, we worked with Dustin, and we sent him like our style guides and stuff like that. Like, we love the typeface. It's all got to be consistent. And all that, goes such a long way. And that's the fun part of that, honestly. That's my favorite part of all of it. So like Plant Puff was like, whole plant, I've had some branding help with, like working with other people in the industry that really help you. But then like Plant Puff was really my own baby. So it was nice. Plant Puff, I like took a lot of me out of and put into the brand. And then also we did tons of competitive analysis, just really seeing like what that demographic is, what that consumer really looks like, having consumer personas, stuff like that. So we really dive in deep and do a lot of stuff like that.
Actually, your brands across the board, I actually believe that your typeface represents the story and the archetype for each and every brand that you've done so far. The whole plant brand, the typeface, it says everything. It really says everything and nothing at the same exact time. And it's just a typeface. The same thing with Puff. I can tell the demographic you're marketing to straight from the typeface, but you're also telling a lot about the brand just in the name. You have a really good intuition with dialing in. This is not only about a name. I don't just need some made up couple letters to represent this. You can really say a lot of the story with just a simple typeface. And I also, what I heard you talk about was, part of the consumer analysis, but it allows you to speak in a different voice for each of your brands. And
it's
to me, it's like that.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's not that your brand gets boring. There's always ways to explore your brand, but your archetype, your voice to your clients is kind of that support level that you tend to drop back to in almost all your marketing. And a company like Plant Puff, as opposed to Whole Plant, can be a little bit more edgier in their voice. It may not always have to be about necessarily education. It could be about lifestyle at this point. It could be about, and it gives you a little bit more of that freedom to kind of express yourself with multiple brands like that. And I love it. I like I said, I think Plant Puff does it right. Can you go to Whole Plant Store as well for me?
I appreciate that. I think you hit it right on. I mean, like Plant Puff, I think its tagline is for its enjoyment. You can use it for your enjoyment or your well-being. You know, some people use it because they've got some serious critical illnesses that they need it for. But then if you want to use it recreationally, instead of drinking a beer at the end of your 9 to 5, you want to smoke a joint or you want to hit a disposable vape or eat a gummy, then, you know, feel free to do it. Enjoy your life. You know, that's kind of the model of it. And then this is really more tailored towards, hey, you know, there's people using this for more of a serious condition and people need it for their daily regimens. So that's kind of definitely, I'm glad that you see it and you can read what we're trying to definitely get out there.
Well, and as someone who's actually donated a lot of your products, and believe in the brand enough and has seen what it did to the people that we were able to give that to me, this is something, this branding, the way this works, the voice of this particular company, of Whole Plant in general, really felt like something that that the parents could align themselves with. It really felt like, you know, when I was taking this into the YMCA to dish it out for free, you know, the public at the YMCA, there was nothing to, I'm not going to, it resonated. It had the ability to resonate, and wellness can resonate with literally the whole spectrum of everybody, you know, that you're selling to. So I genuinely appreciated the way you thought about the branding. And to me, it made a bigger difference into the introduction, into being able to actually help people, specifically because you did that, let alone all the other work that you've done with making sure everything is clean and making sure you know, just the entire chain all the way down the line, you're adamant and passionate about, and it shows in the product. So I think you're hitting the nail on the head on a lot more than what you may even believe you are.
I appreciate that. It definitely goes a long way. And we definitely put a lot of work into the back end as well, too, that a lot of people don't see on the front end. And it's hard to be able to get that message across as well, too. But, you know, we've been doing our best that we can. And I do have to thank a lot of credit to my team as well, too, because, you know, they are a big part in marketing and the branding message. And they get my messages and my visions and what I want to tell out to the consumer. They're the ones that put that out there, you know. So we're doing blog posts for educations. We're doing weekly newsletters and stuff like that. And we're really trying to get as much education out there as well, too. And then really just let the consumer make their choice and see what they want to do with it. You know, do they want CBD? Do they want Delta 8? And we kind of just provide that access, you know, to where, you know, we put that knowledge out there and then they choose what they want to do. But I do have to thank my team a lot because they work really hard and they really get my message out there, and like they've really brought my visions to life. So I do have to appreciate it. And I get a ton of help too. You know, my partner Abby gives me tons of insights and really helps me take brands to the next level for sure. So lining yourself with great people like that is definitely the key to success.
I thought it was pretty cool when you looked. And if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, which you should be, Fridays, 4:20 p.m., subscribe so you find out. If you're watching on YouTube, we had both the Plant Puff Co. and the wholeplantstore.com websites up there. You see the very clear difference. You have a lot of pinks and whites. I love the very poofy kind of font with puff, like Plant Puff. It says that resonation, but a lot of big tails, right? A lot of serif type font there with a big hangover on there. And it's all through the words. Then you go to Whole Plant, which very much has this kind of blocky greens and browns and kind of earthy tone. Still in shock that Whole Plant was not taken in this industry. Like dumbfounded that no one had taken it. You know how many names I Googled, you know, we settled on because cannabis or anything. I feel like I have to go Google multiple times and like, oh shit, it exists somewhere, or Google, or you Google it, you're like, oh, I can't find it. Then you go to either a social media handle or say the name registry, and you're like, there's like a social media that's been vacant for 6 years, like hanging on to this, like somewhere for that. There's still a couple. There's a Wayward Media. We want you at some point.
I know. I couldn't get the handles myself either. I had to get that's why it's whole plant _ plant puff _ it's like I couldn't get whole plants, so it's like I just got to go with underscores and just
Shout out to
make everything
Inhalables
look.
underscore Instagram. Dustin Kava, former founder of Inhalable Smoke Shop in Brunswick, former owner along there. Inhalables underscore Instagram. We'll give them a little shout too. That's the go-to. Just toss the little underscore in there. Do you like the
I think
social
it's the
media
top
part?
hat. You know, it's the top hat to the brand. It's like Inhalables underscore.
Do you like doing
Yeah,
the social
exactly.
stuff? Like, is that your jam? Like, do you like getting on there trying to connect with the different audiences? Is that something you've delved out, I'm making up words, dished out to your team? Like, when you come to the social media, where's that balance given? And I'll tell you why I ask. Given cannabis's, illegality, given some places, some social medias are okay with it. Some you have to be really wordy, tricky with it. We're looking at you, Facebook, for these things. So do you like that part, or do you find it, because I go back and forth. We've had a lot of discussions on social media. Monotonous is necessary evil, or man, like opportunities abound. Like, how do you look at this whole social world, given that you're already trying to make brands, given that you're trying to create quality products, you're trying to ensure manufacturing, you're trying to ensure processing, and yet, Joe Blow underscore 420 cannabis underscore Sir Smokes a lot underscore is like, bro, Plant Puff sucks with an X, right? So how and where's that balance at? Because everyone feels like if you're not social, you're not alive. So how is that? If you, middle finger if you're watching on YouTube, at Meet WM Socially. Speaking of social, tell me, where's that balance go? How do you feel about the social, and what is your balance as far as like a marketing strategy?
I would kill to be in any industry but this. Like, to be honest, so my background is in marketing, but we have so many obstacles, to be honest, in this business to market.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I have a great team, but we pretty much, it has to be like organic social pretty much. We can't do any ad boosts, we can't do any extended reach, we can't do any paid advertising, can't do Google ads, we can't do geofencing. So it's like there's ways to do it, but there's also like you have to hide around it. So it's like you have to put hemp or something, and you can only run that ad for like a week till it gets flagged. So like we haven't really dove into that. And I've been like an entrepreneur my whole life. So like I would love to be able to market like a product that's like not regulated like this, but I've never actually had that chance because I've been in this from the start. So I don't do any of the social media anymore. I've delegated off to my team. When I first started, definitely used to do the Instagram, Facebook. I think we're on LinkedIn now. We did a little bit of TikTok, but we got banned right away. So we stopped
Is
doing
TikTok
that.
not cannabis friendly? I don't know if I knew that.
No,
That's
they're
how old I
very,
am.
and it's very difficult. I mean, even if there was not one word that said CBD, not one word that said cannabis, it's amazing how many of the things get flagged by people watching them as opposed to the algorithm in general. So, like we would even just show a pipe and it would be like, nope, you're gone. There'd be 40 reports of something. So it's very difficult. And he's absolutely right. How do you, in a world where you're building the brands and being told this is what you have to do, and then someone else, the actual company, is saying, sorry, bro, your brand's not legit enough, even though you've invested 35,000 hours and employ 15 people and are regulated in 50 states. And, it's mind numbing. I remember putting millions of dollars into the bank and having them still tell me I'm not allowed $1,000 credit card for the business. And,
wild.
there was something to that in the industry that is like, that's where my passion is solving some of those problems today. And so, yeah, you're right. It is an uphill battle. And if you were a carpet salesman or a carpet installation company, you probably would have owned the town by now, Alex. So, it's one of those things where without those barriers, it may not have been, you may not appreciate it as much as you actually do now. What it actually took. The 35,000 hours.
Yeah, so luckily we've been fortunate that our business model has been generally business to business. I mean, we really don't rely on business to consumer. We use our social medias really to have almost like a home base for our storefronts to be able to shop and see our product and see it's marketed. The business consumer base, it's just been very difficult for us to build. We get a lot of organic consumers from them going to head shops, smoke shops, buying our disposable, and then looking on our packaging or scanning our QR code and getting back to our social that way and following us.
Yep.
You know, but as far as us like building new engagement or like really like getting some natural reach without that organic search has really been difficult. So like we're probably 90% business to business and probably 10% direct consumer. Our direct consumer does a little bit better on whole plant because we do a lot of more SEO and stuff like that. So we're getting some traffic through like funnels like that. But as far as like the social media is growing that, you know, we haven't been great. We've been like 3,000 followers on whole plant, and then we're at like 600 for Plant Puff. But realistically, we use it to market the product more so, and it kind of drives our business to business way more that way. So it's like they're going to our social, they're checking out like all the pretty pictures, or reposting the shops, you know, as they get the product in. And then they're going to the website, and then they're placing their wholesale orders, shopping off the website or off the catalog through the email. But it's more so of a marketing tool for us for B2B, more than it's been B2C driven, to be honest. So we delegate that off to the team though, and they've been doing a great job. And we do email marketing, you know, we do newsletters, we do blog posts, we do all that pillar content turns into social and stuff like that. But I really don't get too involved into that anymore, just because honestly, we can't drive it. I have my team that comes and reports to me, and we have monthly and weekly meetings and stuff like that, to kind of make sure that the vision's in line, you know, production's in line with marketing. So it's like they're not marketing a strawberry mimosa disposable, but we're all sold out of strawberry mimosa. So just like keeping everybody in line and stuff like that. But you know, if it was a little bit different, you know, where laws start to change, maybe I will get dive into that, because paid ads could be really definitely can monetize a lot off it. So I would love to be able to do something like that, but I haven't really been able to.
Well, thinking about algorithms and the future, I'm like, you're doing it in the right order, even though it doesn't feel like you are sometimes. And so what I mean by that is, if you can imagine people who were highly dependent on, say, a Google algorithm or a Facebook algorithm to display that ad to a consumer. And some of these new policies with Apple devices are stopping the tracking, stopping your ability to know your consumer at about a 70% less of a level, and your entire business was dependent on that, you would be dead in the water today. And so a lot of companies that were dependent on that type of marketing, even in other spaces, are struggling where you aren't. You're marketing to the business, which is also doing the marketing for you. They are talking to your consumers. They're educating at the same time. They're allowing their reputation to be standing on your reputation of the product that they're selling to you. And so with that becomes a much more personalized voice coming from the store. And I think you have an easier time reaching your word of mouth customers, these social mavens of types, the ones who tell their friends about the product are the ones that are really coming into their stores being educated in that sense, or had already gone to your Instagrams and stuff. And so you don't necessarily need a daily post to talk to those social mavens. They love you. They already know what you're doing. They already know your products, and they really are telling their moms, their grandmothers, their best friends, their veterinarians about you guys in some capacity. So, you know, I actually think it's more forward thinking what you're doing, and future present, and has a little bit of an insurance policy in terms of your marketing, in terms of your accounts and your branding and stuff like that. And I think it's good. I really do think it's a good thing.
It definitely creates more of a consistent bottom line, I would say, you know, rather than more of those like gimmicky products where they're like based on those algorithms, like you said, to where it's like, all right, well, if that falls through, then you're just literally relying on your retention and your retargeting of those customers. So it's like, we do have a very consistent bottom line. So that what has allowed us to grow, you know, very quickly and consistently. But, you know, you've probably seen it on the other end firsthand, you know, being the store owner, actually seeing that happen. But it is pretty powerful, that word of mouth, and you know, the stores doing all that marketing for us. Plus we work with distributors as well too. So we're in like 18 different states. We have distributors that are like selling to hundreds of stores as well too, a bunch of cash and carries. So it's kind of just like growing like wildfire, to be honest, on its own. So that's more so our marketing, I would say is kind of the product itself. It's like paid advertising. It's pretty crazy.
It's pretty interesting. I have one of the things and you mentioned this when you were talking about like some of the safety, and both of you talked about, Dustin obviously many times on the show, and Alex as well, talked about, the medicine, talked about patients. One of the things I noticed early on when we were talking about your packaging design with Plant Puff is the QR code, which I think is something you have to have when it comes to dealing in these variety of different types of products. I have a question for both of you guys. I'm going to bring up something real quick. There was a news story recently, and I kind of think it talks to about both labeling and just your question on cannabis is medicine. So this was a bill that California is proposing that talks about putting warning labels, on cannabis products. And so I was curious, there's the logistics. How do you fit all this on there? But some of the things, just as far as what cannabis is, here's the 4 main things. So I'm curious, I don't know if either of you know this, so your raw thoughts on here, what this bill in the state of California, which California, over $7 billion, gonna be the new lead the way state when it comes to cannabis. Colorado's 2018. So California is doing major money, right? They're producing a tremendous amount of sales out there, in a fairly progressive state, I would say, for the most part, politically. So they have 4 warnings that they want to try and figure out on there, much like cigarettes have, even alcohol. Warning: do not buy illegally sold cannabis, as it is more likely to contain unsafe additives or harmful contaminants, such as mold or pesticides. Warning: do not use if pregnant or breastfeeding. Exposure to cannabis during pregnancy may harm your baby's health, including causing low birth weight. Warning: cannabis use may contribute to mental health problems, including psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia. Risk is greatest for frequent users when using products with high THC levels. And then finally, warning: cannabis may contribute to mental health problems, including increased thoughts of suicide and suicide attempts. Risk is greatest for frequent users. So I'll start with you, Alex, and then to Dustin. Just kind of reading that, thinking about that, both on a business sense and the product as a medicine. What do you? Where's your just first thought after hearing and seeing that article? And that's the gist of it. It hasn't been passed yet, but this is the big portion of what they're trying. The news headline worthy bit.
I think, to be honest, I don't think that bill will go through. At least I hope it doesn't. If it does go through, it's pretty crazy that they put that stuff, but also I really don't know if that's going to steer a consumer away. It might, because you're not going to see that more so in the dispensary setting. You're not really going to get the packaging and shop and hold the packaging. Everything's like in a glass case. You can't touch it until you actually buy it. So you're not going to see it until you actually get it home with the consumer. And at that point, I feel like you've really already made your mind up on cannabis. Yes. The only bad way is if you have a bad reaction to like an edible or something and be like, oh, this is probably this. I'm never eating this again, which edibles are just risky in general.
I think he made such an awesome point there that as a medical patient, I really can't see that warning until I've already paid for it. And so to make the difference into my thought process there of what I'm actually going to choose because of that, no. And how hard is it to print a label in the black market and slap that shit on your box too? Like at what point is, it all boils down to, again, we are living in a time where the consumer is the most educated they've ever been. And you have to trust that your consumer has the ability to look at you and look at your brand and see what you've done over the X amount of years and be able to tell that story of validity in some capacity. But will it make a difference? I don't think so. And I think Alex made a brilliant point that as a medical patient, I'm never even going to see it.
Well, a couple of things. You think about, obviously, with cigarette sales, they have decreased over time, and part of that has come with education on that, right? They're not advertised on the Flintstones as they were back in the 50s. I'll spare you my Fred Flintstone asking Barney for a Winston, maybe, impersonation there. So, we've come a long way with that. And so clearly, they've gone from the warning labels. I know for a while there, they were putting like graphic images of, lung cancer patients and stuff. They've gone back to more of the warning labels. And I don't mind some of it. To be honest with you, something like warning, do not buy illegally sold cannabis. It is more likely to contain unsafe additives is not a terrible thing to have on there, especially for people like Alex and Whole Plant in the legitimate business.
No.
Except I go into the Michigan dispensary and I sign a waiver at the door of every single dispensary saying my product is not tested.
So it's almost like oh, that's interesting. Because I'm wondering, like, let's say the dispensary, let's say they made them put a sign up, right? Kind of like a sign as you enter the door. Or to your point, Dustin, maybe it becomes a CYA to where everyone just basically signs a waiver of thing. But this puts a question to it. Let's say the dispensary signs a waiver. Let's put on our business hats. Let's give this the scenario Alex played out. Customer has the edible, which is more likely to produce one of these maybe latter two things, which I have an issue with. But this, the mental stuff typically comes from overindulgence of edibles. I think most people can agree. So for the most part, let's say the customer does go home, has that reaction. They sign the waiver at the dispensary, but they're not going to sue. I mean, they may, the dispensary, but they're typically going to come back to the manufacturer, right? When they find a mouse in Pepsi, they don't sue Kroger. They usually sell Pepsi, right? So do you feel like, do you have some legal responsibility for that? Like, do you like that? Or does that scare you to kind of put that out there? Because now it makes it or is it good? Is it good to educate people? Is it, to take it back, not a terrible thing, even if you don't see it, to say, hey, here's some things that could happen. Be careful, bro. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. They're kind of saying that. I know sometimes I think people in the industry get all mad at that, but I don't know if it's a terrible thing to say proceed with caution.
No. Yeah.
But logistically, no one's going to say.
I think it's safe and it probably protects the manufacturer at the end of the day, you know? But, you know, some of those things could scare people away, you know, which, you know, is kind of how it's supposed to be.
Yes,
you know, but just let,
can you imagine cannabis only doing good 100% of the time? The truth is it's just part of the wellness toolkit. We've had Dr. Bridget Williams on the show, and she legitimately, you know, said it best. There are complications that can be caused from the plant in some capacity. Not everybody is, you know, some people are allergic to certain terpenes. Some people are, there's certain things about it that just doesn't work for everyone. And that's fucking okay. And it's not wrong to say to somebody, hey, there are things that can happen with use, whether it's a little bit, whether it's a lot, whether it's frequent. It doesn't necessarily, I think we in the industry have always painted this euphoric, perfect picture of no harm across the board. And that is a hard thing to stand behind with true truth. And it's a hard thing to have to acknowledge as an industry that part of our marketing, part of the way we describe this process does include some negative things. And we really should in some way be talking about this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all in on that. Like, I think it's okay. I feel like, and I think, you know, and I'm curious, Alex, when you have this, you have to walk this fine line of promotion because you are in something that is being promoted. Even some of these alternative, you know, different cannabinoids, which I want to talk about after this. So you are kind of promoting it in this kind of use it to make yourself feel better, but it's like the vitamin world where you kind of are there, but you're not. And some people feel it and some people don't. And it becomes a tricky thing to say because you can't say it cures you because there are, and if we're honest with ourselves, just like Bridget Williams had in one of our past episodes, could be, I mean, people are allergic to peanuts, which grow out of the ground. People are allergic to lots of things which grow out of the ground, right? That we may not be. So how do you balance that on like a marketing speech? Like when you have to copyright that, do you have these discussions of that sounds a little too much like we're making false promises? Is there kind of that fine line? Do you have those conversations? Like what's that been like to promote a wellness alternative without legally being like it's going to make you feel better because you can't say it? It's like it's a tough
let me
thing.
add, promoting a wellness, you know, thing that has worked for him, that made a massive difference in his own life.
It's very true. Yeah.
And so it's like you have the experience of what it did for you, and yet you have to hold your mouth over your claims in some way. So I want to hear the answer to that one too, because it's got to be tough.
Well, definitely. I mean, overall as a company, we do not make any claims, you know, it's just in our best interest. There are those companies out there that will do that will fight litigation and they'll go through the whole court and they don't even care. But We just make zero claims, but wording can be strategic, you know. So my
Sure.
team is definitely trained very well, and we can only say certain things like on our copy for our social posts. But there are ways around it that we can really word it. And that's kind of why we branded Whole Plant the way we did. We did morning, daily, nightly. So it's kind of like sativa hybrid indica so that people can like classify what they need for what ailment. It's like typically, you know, we'll be like, oh, well, a lot of customers have used this product. They told they use this, and they've also had this. We had no correlation that it did anything for their ailment, you know, but they had this specific ailment and they used the nightly wellness products. So that's what really worked for them. So it's really being strategic on how we guide them along the process and also how we word it as well, too. Like there's some ways around it, definitely for sure. Like me telling that it works for me, well, there's no one that can't tell me that, you know.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
legally, I can say like, hey, I use this nightly wellness product, these indica dominant products, because that really worked well for my Crohn's disease. I'm not saying that I'm cured for Crohn's disease, but I'll also tell you that I haven't had any flare-ups in like years, you know. So I can say that I'm in remission, you know, and I can't specifically say, hey, it was this product that cured me, but I've been using this product and now I don't have any symptoms. So there's definitely ways around it, but it's definitely been very tricky. And one thing we definitely do is we do not make any claims whatsoever that are straight out and forward, you know?
I love it. I honestly, man, this, I guess coming from someone who, I mean, I have my passion is in small business or in business in general. I love the process. I love, you know, day one to exit. I love, you know, I just love everything about it. I believe in business in this country. And I believe that it is, you know, something that generally can move mountains for somebody in their own life. And I've enjoyed working with you with Whole Plant, working with you with Plant Puff. I have really enjoyed watching your process over the last 5 years. And I've really enjoyed watching you pursue your own truth, man. And I think to anybody watching, I hope that one of the things they get is, even though something is highly regulated, even though there is constantly going to be someone or some governing body that is telling you fuck you or no, or this is going to take longer than you hope for, motherfucker. And you gotta, you know, the ability to pursue it, the ability to just keep knocking out each step until you get where you want to go. It's possible. It's probable. It's all the things that should be instilled day one, even though it's tough. And I think you embody a lot of that. And I think your team can be embodied by that a lot. And so I enjoyed having a lot of this conversation with you. I was, you know, inspired by a lot of the way you think about business. And this was an awesome conversation for me.
I appreciate that. Honestly, it's pretty crazy, like for me, myself, because like every single day is moving so fast. And so it's like sometimes like I think I did a couple weeks ago for the first time, I like stepped back and like I saw like marketing's running. They're running social posts, they're running a blog post, the production team's filling a distro order for Florida. Like the sales guys are all on the phones and I'm like, all this shit is moving and I like put this together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did it sometimes. So it's like still surreal, but definitely I feel like if you work hard enough at anything, like this was a grind. Like Ohio was probably the toughest state to be able to get a freaking hemp license in. Like we had to go like through regulations that are like 10 times stricter than cannabis for Ohio.
I had cops
hemp.
pull off CBD off my shelf in the store.
It's
you know,
unreal.
I had them physically come in and make me sign paperwork that said I was not allowed to sell any product, even though there was no law saying I couldn't, and take it off my shelf. You know, like that's nuts. Like that. And for you, you're manufacturing it. It's not just about the sale. Like you were, it's a whole nother level of scared, you know, and a little of that apprehension there. And yeah, man. And you did it. And
Nobody did it in Ohio. Nobody did in Ohio because they couldn't, honestly. Like we had to jump through so many different hoops. It's like We had to get full panel tests on all of our source material. We had to do it for like any microorganisms that were of public health concern, which at the time was listeria. And there's not a single lab like in the earth that tests for listeria. So it's like we're fucking searching everywhere to get this stuff tested for listeria. And then like we're literally testing, like we have like, I mean, at this point it's like 120 SKUs, but we literally potency test every single batch that we produce. There's a batch number that ties to that batch, in which, you know, it's all like GMP compliant. So like it's worth it for us to do it in the end, but like no other hemp state like has to deal with this regulation. But it'll deal with us, like it'll help with us in the future, because then we're not going to have to like stop our $1 million worth of production to redo this process. We're already doing it, which is,
and we're not
cool,
going to name names, but I know you've actually have seen that throughout your time in the industry. You have watched operations who thought they were the shit and were riding the wave on top. And at the end of the day, come Monday morning, you know, the doors are locked, employees aren't allowed to walk in, and now they're dealing with 2, 3, 4, 5 months of paperwork. And so I like that you're working within a strict, meaning that all the other states just fall like dominoes for you. And the competitors that are kicking ass in those other states don't really have the opportunity that you have going through the process already. So I think it's a neat thing. And I know personally that you have watched it happen. I know it.
Yeah, it's definitely been crazy. It's been a crazy process. I'm excited to see where this continues to go, because I never even thought that we would be as big as we are now. But I'm excited to see where it's going to get, because I can start to kind of see it blossom. I think we're going to expand a little bit more and do a whole new kitchen as well too over here in North Ridgeville. We're going to add on to our warehouse, but we got some exciting things. Once we get into Ohio Market Plant Puff, we're going to have the first 1 gram disposable. It's rechargeable, has a button. It's going to be in the Ohio market. And honestly, there's no 1 gram disposables in any cannabis market, even in Cali, in Michigan. We're going to be the first one, like pretty much anywhere. We custom built this device ourselves with manufacturers. Our companies get pretty deep. Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, like, when I picked this up. Thank you, by the way, for this. This is, and I want to talk to you. We have to talk a little bit of cannabinoids before we go. Not only were you saying, not only was this a 1 gram disposable about to come to market, but just some other innovations, like, which I just used yesterday, the rechargeable port on the bottom of it, which usually does not happen in disposables. Had that happened yesterday, the battery went out. I'm not done with it yet. I go slow and low, bro. So I needed to recharge it. So I was like, thank goodness. And you pointed it out, found the right of the many USB attachments. But this device here, which I love that you, when we talked about it, you straight went into the innovation of how you didn't like some of the other disposable carts and had to change it. I will tell you, well-designed product. I'm not a disposable fan because they always clog, they always break down, and a lot of it's the battery life. So the disposable part on the bottom of this 1 gram thing was legit. The button works smoothly, you know, how it on off. So that is exciting to have. So I love that stuff. I love that you're not just saying, look, I want to put out my product, whatever, I want to brand it, you know, all those things, and I'm just going to sell it out there. But it is about the delivery is part of the experience, right? It's not just the quality of the product inside of this cartridge that you're thinking about. You've really delved into the customer experience as well. Like, as a consumer, how do I like it? What do I like? What do I not like? But then made a point, because you could have very quickly and cheaper, I should say, gone with a standard disposable thing and got your product out there. Why do that? Like, why really sit back and reinvent and think about it and say, I need something better, because this is going to cost you more money. Like, it just has to, versus whatever else is out there. So why is that important to you, to Plant Puff, to Whole Plant, to Organic Plus Brands, you know, underscore on social? Why is that important?
So, like, honestly, we started doing these business-to-business trade shows, and we started getting, like, very large distributors where we're selling these things in the thousands, you know? So it's like, we cannot just flow all these crappy disposables that are going to junk out, and then we're going to be asking for all these returns. Because I've been doing vape, like, so even while I was at the Cleveland School of Cannabis, I was flying out to California. I was working with a cannabis collective, and they did like RSO, and that's where I learned about whole plant extract. But they didn't know how to do vape, so I was like, I learned how to make vape like a while ago. And I was getting the devices, and I was helping with their packaging design and sourcing their packaging. and doing the manufacturing for them, either collective. Because back in Prop 215, they were like called collective licenses. So you can have like a little manufacturing facility. So we were making carts there, and I learned how to like work with manufacturers overseas. So for a while, like there's always been device issues, even when first carts came out, because like it was a brand new device, like there was leaking, like no one knew how to do them.
First generation anything. First generation, no matter what it is, man. I don't know. Just first generation, it's tough, right? There are these issues that they take time to find out.
You got to go through it. And so I've been working with this manufacturer for like 8 years, and to be honest, they've taught me like pretty much everything. Like they've taught me how to do like consumer packaged goods, honestly, like proper sizing, how to size this device for like an EVA blister that fits into the specific package, and that package fits into this case box. So it's like they've been great and wonderful, and they taught me a lot, but we've just worked together for so long, and I couldn't flow out all these devices. So I was like, all right, let's custom build this disposable that's not going to junk out, because we did it with carts. You know, we had leaks and issues with carts, and we flowed them all out, and then we got all these returns. And we're like, all right, we got to keep these customers happy, and then we lose customers. So it's like, all right, it's not even worth it. Let's just skip that step. Yep. We put in the time, got everything custom made, put those custom intake holes in, those 2.0 millimeter intake holes to handle a thick oil. Got 4 of them in there. So then you got the button as well for the heating element so it doesn't clog. And then, like you said, they're rechargeable. So it can get through that full gram of that thick D8 oil, which is very similar to like a D9 cannabis oil. It's like almost just as stable. So we got higher minimums and we custom made the device, but you know, we're selling through them. I can't even keep those things in stock. We're selling them like 15,000 a month right now. And we're like barely keeping those things in stock, but you know, it was worth it at the end of the day. You know, now we don't have returns. We had no issues. I never get a phone call from our warehouse for having an issue with that. If they do have an issue, it's because they don't know how to turn it on.
Yeah. And
it's the worst part.
And you'd be surprised at how much a simple return or a simple swap out diminishes the entire profit on the whole process. Just shipping alone. Again. You know, so I mean, you're thinking right about the right things. And I think that's why the company is going in the right direction. And so I'm awesome.
Yeah, one bad impression, they'll never buy it again. Never again. So it's like, we don't want it. If you have a vape that clunks out and it's full with oil, and you can't use it, you're at a concert, you're going to be pissed as hell. You know, you're like, I'll never get this again.
Yeah, that is true. I have brands that just particularly maybe the cart itself, when you be able to go get them, that I won't buy because I've had bad experiences. And I have ones, much like any sort of reason, that I'll walk past to go to the brands that I've had success with, similar to purchasing any of these products, right? It's just like, it's business 101, take the part out of it. Alex, I really appreciate the conversation. We're going to have you back on. I wanted to delve deep into cannabinoids, and we just ran out of time talking so much marketing stuff because
I'm sorry.
No. Hey, this is what it's for, and it's a way to trick you into coming back and talking about these other cannabinoids. I really enjoyed our conversation. Dustin clearly did. By the way, Dustin, your new studio, not as good Wi-Fi, so we got to up our Wi-Fi next time. I think that was clear. Wife's house, not as good of a studio as the new house. So
fiber, man, I got 9 months to fiber, and Starlink is about a year and a half too late on me already. Gosh, you gotta hold your breath.
We'll get Dustin back in our studio. Good Wi-Fi. Alex, thank you for joining us as well from where you're at, Alex. Rocking the Plant Puff T-shirt. We'll put all the links to all the different companies, starting with Organic Plus Brands, Whole Plant CBD, Plant Puff, as well as some other things that Alex has happening. Follow those. Find the socials. Find the name. Put the underscore after it. We'll also include those down below. Make sure you hit the subscription below right before you click into one of Alex's stores. You ship, right? Like they could go and ship and have things purchased and shipped right to them?
Oh yeah, we ship to pretty much most of the states. It'll exclude the ones for like Plant Puff. It'll be on the website, but we ship to like the majority of the states. CBD is like 48. But yeah, we'll ship it, order right on the website, we'll ship it right to your house.
That is awesome. Thank you, Alex, for joining us. I appreciate you joining us here on Because Cannabis, Wayward Media, wayward.media. Check out the site as well. Follow us socially at MeetWM. Check out the show audio if you're listening. Make sure you subscribe. Get the YouTube feed. Dustin, Alex, awesome Friday. Thank you for joining us here, 4:20 p.m. every single Friday, a brand new episode of Because Cannabis. We'll see who we got next week. Definitely going to have you back soon, Alex. Take care, man. It was great talking to you.
All right. See you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.